lot of times the entrepreneurs are so eager to sell their vision, to impress an investor, that a lot of times they're jumping ahead and either downplaying or not being aware of some of the gaps in their business. So what we provide in the mentoring process that we use is to help entrepreneurs understand that you always have gaps. Investors will invest in companies even if they're not perfect. But what they want you to do as an entrepreneur is understand, recognize, and have a plan to overcome those gaps. So if your team's not all there, you don't want to try to convince an investor otherwise. What you want to say is, we know that for our team we need to hire a new finance person or a new operations person, and that's why we need the investment, and the part of that investment will go to make that hire. So then what you're doing is showing the investor that you're aware of some of your gaps and working to overcome them, and why their investment will be catalytic for your enterprise. So that mindset is really important, because that's building the relationship with the investor and showing that it's a partnership. And another area that we see a lot of, most of the entrepreneurs that come into our training program typically come in saying that they need X amount of dollars to grow their business, but oftentimes those numbers seem to be just sort of pulled out of the air, and when we start to drill down, it's hard to get a lot of specificity of, well, how'd you come up with that number? So a lot of the work we do with entrepreneurs is really work them through, what is your plan for growth, how much capital do you need, and what's the right type of capital do you need? Are you still at an early stage where a grant makes the most sense? Are you ready for a loan, some kind of debt financing for working capital? Are you big enough to have an equity investment? And if so, what's the exit strategy? Because if you say we're open to give away equity, the first question from the investor is, okay, great, what's the plan for the exit? So there's different stages, and the entrepreneur needs to be ready for those questions. And until you have answers for those questions, you probably either you need to get some help, some mentoring, or go to the investor and say, well, we're having exploratory conversations, but don't try to come in with an ask unless you really have all those levels of detail. Another area that we see, the biggest area that we do work with entrepreneurs on is the whole financial model. Because typically the enterprises come in and have good impact stories, good evidence that the technology works, good understanding of the market, but understanding that business model and being able to articulate it, to talk to investors about it and show how that scales. There's a lot of financial information there that the entrepreneurs need to really have and be able to articulate at a high level and down as deep as the investors want to go, because they won't invest or even get very deep into a conversation if you can't really understand your numbers and hash numbers with them. So that's a skill that the entrepreneurs need to have, and have all the data at hand.